Good evening, everybody. Another Thursday comes around. Welcome to Talkin' Torque. My name is Colin Livingston. What a busy section of the calendar we're in here. Definitely in the middle of, at least for me, and I can speak for Alex. Definitely the busiest time of the year. We just raced in Toronto last Saturday. Pardon me, last Friday. Flew back home, did some coverage for our friends at Crier Media. Had a great time. I mean, holy moly! I'm so busy. I didn't actually have chance to load any of the stuff we did, but super thank you. You can find it on our socials. Interviews with Chief Operations Officer of Andretti Autosport, Rob Edwards. Managed to sit down with, again, the nicest guy in the IndyCar garage. He also happens to be the best and one of the best of all time. Really thankful that Scott Dixon gave us some time on Saturday. David Malukas, what a great kid. And thanks to my friend Karina Redmond, who I don't know that she has one title at Dale Coyne. She seems to do it all from, acting as a team manager to the media relations, PR, just the joys of being part of a smaller team. But she did a great job, and really thankful that she was able to connect us. Dale Coyne himself gave us some time as well on Saturday. Really enjoyed chatting with him, and of course, we've had him on the show in the past. We'll have him on the show again. My good buddy Larry Jackson. We just happened to pass him as we were capturing some B-roll and doing some behind the scenes from the Toronto Indy. Larry's always great. Looking forward to hosting everyone this weekend. Obviously, we'll be racing at Edmonton International Raceway at Wetaskiwin this weekend, just outside of the city. Obviously, that's for NASCAR. That's my home track, and always look forward to getting out there. We've got Kevin from EIR, Mr. Smiley, as he calls himself, will be joining me momentarily here. But I want to go back and cover some of the stuff. Obviously, as I said, we were racing at Toronto. Without question, as big a race as we have on our calendar, just because we're there piggybacking off of the IndyCar series. Although when we won our first race there, whatever that was, 6-7 years ago, one of the promoters of the race came over to us in Victory Lane and said, "Man, we need to up our game on the IndyCar side of things because you guys put on such a great show. You're going to make us look bad," which, was tongue in cheek, but at the same time, stock cars do a really good job on street courses. We've showed that in the NASCAR Pinty series for years. Where our cars are a little bit, not a little bit, they're measurably lighter horsepower, they're heavier cars, but they slide around, they have less grip, makes it a little bit more, a little bit easier to follow, a little bit easier to pass than what the IndyCar guys do. I mean, they put on a great show as well. But part of the fun of racing, and we talk about this an awful lot on this show. We talk about this a lot on my former radio show, the Cantork Race Report with Jason Greger, that racing is about passing. If you just want to see cars go fast, you can watch that pretty much anywhere. But the joy for me in racing is watching a driver who's able to control a thing that otherwise is out of control, to make that late braking move without losing control, to outbrake another car, and to make a pass without, ideally without hitting someone or taking them out. And the race that we ran on Friday had all of that. We again, Alex did such a great job. I can't commend him enough. I challenged him the weekend before, was our summer challenge go-kart race. I kind of ran the board in my category, winning pole, super pole, and every heat. I kind of laid the gauntlet down with Tag and said, "Hey, listen, bud, here's what the fat guy did, and if I can do this, why can't you?" Alex picked up the gauntlet, smacked me in the face with it. He won pole. Really essentially led every green flag lap. There was a little bit of an issue midway point of the race where I believe NASCAR made a mistake. I'm not criticizing them. I've talked to a few of the officials who I won't mention by name because they were off the record conversations, but we agreed that could have been handled differently. But notwithstanding, Alex, didn't really lay a bumper on anyone, aside from when we caught lap traffic where, a couple of the cars didn't know which way that they were supposed to go, or they had, damaged cars and they couldn't really keep them under control. But, really led every green flag lap, got our first win of the season. And now we're going to roll into Edmonton where, obviously I've got my business based here. Alex has a really strong connection with the community. He's been coming out here for years, loves it out here. We got our first pole at Wetaskiwin in 2014. We've won there in the past. We've run really well. So always exciting to come back here. Such a great little track. I mean, I make a lot of jokes about Wetaskiwin that, it's a really unique track in that it only has one corner. And it's a left, and that's kind of how you have to run Wetaskiwin. That you start by turning left on the straightaway, you turn way more left when you get into the corner, and then you turn a little bit less left when you get onto the back straightaway, and that's kind of how you run the whole thing. But here's a couple of shots. This was last weekend in Toronto. For some reason it's not loading slowly. This is our spotter stand, standing on top of the Enercare Center. You can see all my counterparts lined up. Unfortunately, I can't put my mouse on the picture so you can see what I'm pointing at, but that's the front straightaway in Toronto. And as you can see, the trees that have been planted have overgrown to the point that we can't even really see half of the front straightaway. So as a spotter, we're relatively useless there. We got, I got to climb up in the grandstands on Sunday, thanks to my good friend Shane Carter, Evan. They helped sneak me up there for a few laps. I got to watch up to about I think it was about lap 12, lap 14, something like that. There was a lot of caution in the beginning after a big accident, turn one. Watched about 4 or 5 green flag laps, and then went back and watched from elsewhere. But this is what it's about, getting into victory lane, getting to show our crew a little bit of appreciation. They work as hard every week that we're out there, whether we win or not. They always come back. They always give us 100%. Very, very thankful. Had a lot of sponsor activity out last weekend. So really appreciative to everyone that came out. And then this is our this was started by our original crew chief, Tyler Case, where we take the trophy, put it on the hood of the car in the trailer, and snap a picture. So I made sure, Tyler was actually with us this weekend or last weekend, and made sure that we carried on the tradition. But enough of listening to me. Oh, hey, Mike, how are you doing? Always nice to see our friend Positive Mike. Positive Mike also says, he's one of the more critical thinkers that's on the social medias, but Mike's not always wrong. So hoping Mike was one of the guys yesterday that sent me a note saying that he was unaware that we have a race in Wetaskiwin this weekend. So kind of good segue here to bring in our man, Mr. Smiley. And how do you say your last name? Saucier? Saucier. Kevin, yes. Saucier from Edmonton International Raceway. Welcome, Mr. Smiley.
Thanks, Colin. Glad to be here.
We had the pleasure of getting to do your show. What was that, about 3 months ago, 2 months ago?
About that, yeah.
Yeah. Have you done live podcasts before?
No, I have not done a live podcast before. This is the first one. This is definitely interesting. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're more than welcome. As a wise man once taught me, you always remember your first time.
That is so true. That is so true.
So what exactly is your role out at EIR?
Actually, I play 3 roles at EIR. I'm business development manager my regular time. On race days, I'm the DJ and one half of the announce team with Alan Grimstead.
Fantastic. So you get displaced when Pinty's comes to town.
Just for a little bit, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm getting displaced by the likes of Adam Ross and Dave Bradley, I will gladly pick my stuff up and step off to the side. They're about as good as they come.
Those guys can call a race like fantastic. I love it when they call the race.
I know Adam very well. And this isn't a slight against Adam, but there's something about Dave Bradley's voice that when I hear it, like I'm a 100% straight male, but man, his voice is sexy. And man, it gets my full attention.
I'll have to pay more attention next time.
Oh man, once you hear it, you can't unhear it. But yeah, between like last weekend, I got to spend some time with all the broadcast guys, Todd Lewis and Dave and Adam. Although Adam, I hardly saw at all. But then I also got to meet a gentleman named Rob Howden. So in the world of go-karts, Rob is extremely well known. So he's a Toronto product. He broadcasts. I didn't get the actual number, but I mean, he does no less than a dozen go-kart events where he does the broadcasting and he does the commentary, but he's also the voice of, what used to be known as the Road to Indy Ladder. So he does all the play-by-play for the USF 2000, USF 2000 Pro and Indy Next series. So this guy is just an absolute legend, but his voice to me, it sounds like racing. When I hear it, that's what it does.
I'll have to listen for that one for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. First of all, let's get to the big points here.
Yes.
This weekend, obviously, Bayer 300.
Yes.
At EIR. Now, am I being disrespectful by saying EIR? I know Loretta likes to, one of the owner partnership of Ron and Loretta Thiering. She likes me to say Edmonton International Raceway in Wetaskiwin.
That's right.
Now,
that's right.
If we get that out a couple of times, do you think she'll let it slide if I drop it to EIR?
I think she can let it slide. I refer to it as EIR quite often when I'm actually doing my own podcast or when I'm actually calling a race. I'll just shorten it down to EIR. But so far, she hasn't given me any of that corrective feedback. But yeah, it's just Edmonton International Raceway in Wetaskiwin.
Well, you work for her, so if anyone's going to get it, it should be you. But I think I've got enough goodwill in the bank from promoting the track for so many years on the radio and all stuff like this. So obviously, this is the showcase event for the track.
Oh yes.
Now this is let's take the COVID years out of it, but in the modern era, Pinty started coming back in 2014. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I think the year that we joined the series was the first year that because Edmonton replaced Vernon.
Yes,
it used to be the western swing of Vernon, BC, and then Saskatoon. So we've been, we've run there every year, aside from the COVID years when obviously, we were down to 3 race venues and 6 total events, which were, half events. But yeah, obviously, again, this is the showcase event. So what can people come to expect when coming out to EIR in Wetaskiwin?
Well, when the Pinty's guys and girls hit the track, it's just going to be bumper to bumper, door to door, control chaos. I'd like to call it. It's definitely control chaos. And the cars will start going down laps really early. It's such a small track, but it's a fast track. That's one of the things. It's a fast track. A lot of fun. That's all that I could say. It's a lot of fun. Ron and Loretta have been doing lots of improvements over the past several years, as you know.
Every year they do something big.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the year that, the track got repaved, the year that second year, I think that we were there, the first year that we were there. which is a just monumentally expensive proposition. It doesn't matter if you're a quarter-mile track, a mile and a half track, a two, like it's proportionally crazy expensive. Addition of the sea cans, addition of the grandstands, and while people likely don't know this, it's Ron that does all the construction himself.
That's right. He's got a crew. Last year, I was privileged to be on the crew to actually do some of the work around the racetrack. And that squiggle line on pit road going into the first pit stall there on the exit, that was me. I did that.
Whoops.
Yeah, that was a big whoops. I could tell you I was really upset. I was more upset at that than Ron was. But yeah, Ron does all the work. They got a crew out there this year that they've got a nice booth for the TSN guys to actually be in. That's all completed now for them. So yeah,
just them, or you get the benefit of it too on the weekends.
I don't know. It's going to be bright. It's just going to be for them. As far as it just got built. Built.
So where's that going to be?
Right beside the sea can, as far as I know. Now, unless they decided to change that location, but maybe after the Pinty's weekend, I might be able to utilize it being into turn number 1, turn 2. That would be like really awesome.
Yeah, because traditionally, Joel from Fuel TV has to set up in the lower sea can is where he does a lot of the control center stuff, or he puts his producer in there, which obviously gets a little bit contentious when you've got hospitality going on there, that they have to work, but the people who are there with the hospitality want their experience as well. So yeah, moving the broadcasting outside is probably a good idea.
Yeah, that is especially since we put in brand new theater style seating over the off season in the wintertime. Ron ended up picking up some theater seating, fold down seats, nice padded backs and seats. So we've upgraded at least the seating in the sea cans as well. So all the VIPs, they get best seats in the house, not only for the race, but very comfortable seats as well.
Well, and that's the thing about the track, is that it doesn't matter where you sit. There is no bad seat. I'm going to put, you can't see what I'm putting up here, but right now is a, one of my panorama pictures from the spotter stand. So, when you see this, again, you can't see it, but you know what the view's like up there. Now, this is as good as it gets. And this is technically not the spotter stand. This is from kind of the midway point of the sea cans, but it does not matter where you sit. There is not a bad seat in the place. If you want to see the speed of the cars, you can sit lower. If you want to have a better bird's eye view, you can sit higher. But there's like, if you're in the general admission, because I think that's kind of how the seating works, is the straightaway section of grandstand is general admission.
Yes.
So, first come, first serve. But it doesn't matter where you are. You can see everything. And that's the beautiful thing about a track like Wetaskiwin, is that, as you mentioned, cars are going to be, you fall down laps. A qualifying lap last year, we won the pole.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
At a 12, I want to say it was 12,
7,
something like
9-1, I believe it was. I was right there in the tower when the qualifying happened, and it was just something else to see those laps ticking off and to see Tag's lap come in that fast time. I was like just jumping up in the race tower. It was like, I had never seen somebody drive this fast on this racetrack in my life. Like, it was phenomenal, the lap that he turned out.
Now, the track is a quarter mile. So, let's say race laps are going to be 13 to 14 seconds, give or take. But that's not a lot of time.
No, it is not.
I apologize. I didn't look at the entry list. We probably have 22 cars.
I heard about 22 cars. Yes.
Yeah. So when, that's 11 rows. Now, that's how good at math I am. I did that right in my head. But 11 rows of cars. And even if everyone reacts perfectly, which they don't, and by the time you finish one lap, half the track is full of cars.
Yes.
And then because the cars that get stuck on the outside in the early part of the race, they don't have the same speed. By about lap 5, you're about 3/4 of the track is full of cars. And then eventually we get down to moderately single file racing. And if you're at the back, you're you're being threatened with falling a lap down early.
Oh, absolutely. Easily 5, 6 laps in and you're down a lap. It's incredible how fast it happens and things change so fast. That's one thing. The fans that come out to actually watch the Pinty's race, don't take your eyes off the track. Don't take your eyes off the track. Things happen so fast and the saying goes, you blink, you miss it. That's literally what will happen. You'll blink and you'll miss some sort of action on the track.
I'm going to throw a video up. So while the video is playing, we'll be able to hear it, but we won't be able to talk. But I've got, in my illustrious racing career, which is not even remotely illustrious, I have had the privilege, though, to run a number of different cars. So obviously I still race go-karts. I've driven what was called a Star Mazda car back in the day. Now, was kind of the equivalent of a US Pro 2000. I've driven a Formula Atlantic car, but in my racing career, I've actually completed 2 oval races, and they were both done at EIR. One in one of the school cars, which is a Thunder stock car, and then the second was in a IMCA modified, which was such a badass car to drive. Fortunately, I'm still very good friends with young Tyler Knowles. He's told me pretty much anytime I want, as long as I can buy tires, I can race his car. But I'm going to throw the video up, my in-car camera, just to give people an idea. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying this was my first race, and in this particular race, I'm starting on the front row, not because I qualified up front, but because they do an inversion for this. I think it was the second heat. And Tyler, who had coached me through the whole thing, I ran really, really, really well. I mean, I was within, I can't remember, I was within like 0.3 of a second in qualifying in the race. Like, I was able to keep pace early on. But I had no racecraft because I didn't know how to use the mirrors properly. I didn't have a spotter, which I really, really wanted. And, and he told me, like, hey, pay attention, this guy's going to jump early. And I was expecting that nobody would leave until we got onto the straightaway, but they kind of jumped between turn 3 and turn 4, and I reacted slow. So you're going to see me get freight trained here, which was actually okay, because I didn't want to be in anyone's way, but I wanted to kind of pace myself. So this will be about a minute here, and then we can get back to the action.
Yeah.
So that was just over 60 seconds, and we completed something like 7 laps or 6 laps. Like, it was crazy how fast these things happen. But what you can't see from the video is there is a lot of G-force. Those cars have a lot of grip. They get through the corner extremely well, and they have just enough power that once your tires get about halfway through their life, you'll start spinning the tires coming out of the corner. And I was absolutely shit scared because it wasn't my car. I didn't want to hit the wall. I had 2 main goals. Well, 3 main, 2, well, I don't know. We'll see how many. I didn't want to make contact with anyone, and I didn't want to get lapped. Those were the two things. And I mean, again, I did surprisingly well. But every class out there has something to offer.
Yes.
So like on a regular weekend, how many different classes without the gimmick, things like the stackers or the smash to pass or whatever, how many classes do you guys typically run on a race weekend?
4 to 5, sometimes 6.
Okay. Are you still doing those little kids carts with the fiberglass bodies and the golf cart engines?
With the mini cups?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. And yeah, we actually, the mini cups got a couple of new drivers in it this year. Quentin Peterson, one of our is son of Brad Peterson, who drove with us in that Thunder car race that you and I ran in.
Yeah.
So his son is now racing in the mini cups at 8 years old. So, and it's a great draw for the kids. Alan and myself, we did a tour last week, and one of the kids that came in on the VIP tour was 8 years old, and he was just glued to those cars, and he's just, you could see him vibrating, and he wants to get into a race car so bad. And then when I walked them up turn 3 and 4 up the banking, and they were looking down, he says to his mom, he says, I really want to race a car. And I said, you know what, bud, well, we can make that happen for you. You're old enough to actually race these cars. And he's like, I've been doing game and sim racing, so I'm really geared up to do this. So we got to get the younger kids involved. And then from the mini cups, they progress over to the future stocks, which is 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds that don't even have their driver's license yet.
Yeah.
And we just throw them into 4-cylinder Chevy Cavaliers and let them spin around the racetrack for like 20, 30 laps. And, we got to get more youth involved. That's the future of our sport.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and sorry, I kind of bounce back and forth to talk to the audience and talk to you. Every level of motorsport is dependent on passing something on to the next generation. I don't, I say this with our friends that I race my go-karts with. We're not race car drivers. We are ambassadors of the sport of racing.
That's right.
I'm turning 50 this year. My buddy is, much older than that, Troy. That, we've done this for a long time. We've been the beneficiaries of some of the good things that racing offers, but we need to start giving that back. And yeah, I mean, kudos to you guys for keeping that open. I mean, we do the same thing in the go-kart track. At 8 years old, you can get into, a choke down Briggs and Stratton, 4-stroke, and kids will start ripping around the track.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And to see the smiles on their faces when they get out of the car, I keep telling everybody that they may be small on stature, but they're big on heart, and the competition out of these kids is just as intense as us adults.
Oh, for sure. Like once, it's such a weird metamorphosis that happens where otherwise friendly, thoughtful, caring, kind, compassionate people turn into assholes the second they put a helmet on their head. And it's not necessarily vindictive. But there's a switch that happens where it's like, you don't have to go after somebody, but you're giving, you get that adrenaline, and you get that, kind of, I want to say prehistoric, but that more survivalist mindset where it's like
primal instinct,
and you're working off of instinct to theoretically beat the competitor, like whether it's with a club or whether it's on the track. So
that's right.
Now after the future stocks, then what does somebody move to?
They could either move up into the pure stocks, which is it's more horsepower than the future stocks, but it's the same body styles. We're seeing a lot more Chevy Cobalts and Pontiac G5s coming into the mix, as well as Hondas and Toyotas are now coming into the mix, but they still have to remain that front wheel drive, automatic transmission style, and they can only play with the car so much. I mean, they're very strict on the rules. Then from there, they can also move into the Thunder cars, which is the entry-level V8s. And then you can get into the Premier Series, which is now, they used to be known as our super stocks, but is now known as the late models. We're just trying to attract a lot more drivers. So we changed the name from super stocks to late models. And so far, that class is rebuilding. Our Thunder cars are rebuilding. We had a spectacular 100-lap race last weekend. It was phenomenal. Don Roberts came back out, and he just he ended up, well, I can't say dominated the race. It took him a while to get that lead, but for that 100 laps, it was a good race, very good, clean, I might add. Also, the pure stocks, however, they've been doing a lot of beating and banging this year. That's the one that the fans really love.
Yeah, but you guys also have, and I call them the gimmick series, but you have smash, or what do you call it?
Hit to pass.
Smash to pass, hit to pass, where your pass doesn't count unless you make contact.
You have to make contact.
If you like hitting people, if you like that style, there's a series, there's an event that you can actually do that.
Yes. I believe we have 3 of those as well. We also have the Racer Wreck, which is V6 cars that are front wheel drive, no all wheel drive allowed in that one. You cannot make any adjustments whatsoever. You just have to add the safety features.
Okay.
And that's a Racer Wreck 200 lap event. If we get 30 cars out in the Racer Wreck feature, the sponsor will pay out $5,000, but we need to have 30 cars come out in the Racer Wreck. The rules will be for the Racer Wreck is available online at edmontonraceway.com. That's our website. You just go to the Racers link and you click on that link, scroll down, and you'll see Racer Wreck. Click on that, and you could get the rules for that. We really want a lot of people to come out.
So what would the cost to acquire a suitable car for that be?
I'd say a couple grand.
Okay.
A couple of grand. We got a couple of guys that actually whipped one up for like $1,200. Came out for his very first time. It was his buddies that put the car together and for his bachelor party and said, "Hey, you're going racing." And he went out and he had a great time. Didn't finish the race, but he had the best time ever.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the thing that everyone seems to talk about, and I don't know, again, I haven't been out there for a weekend in a long time because splitting time between go-karts and Pinties keeps me tied up for about 30 weekends a year. But the stackers. So
2 cars on top of each other.
Yeah, but that's not all. So it's the person on the top car is steering.
Yep.
The one in the bottom is working the throttle and brake.
That's right.
And there's no communication.
No communication whatsoever. Myself and the rookie of the year in the late models last year, Ironman Mike Sawyer, we actually took out one of the track owned stackers just for a few laps around the racetrack. My first time being in a stacker, and I was the pedal guy and he was up top. Yeah, there's no communication whatsoever. And we were whipping around the track, I think doing like 14 seconds, something like that in a stacker, but so top heavy. I mean, you got to be very precise. I've only seen one flip over once. And that was only on video, and it was Darcy Savoy's brother, Kevin, that actually flipped. And Darcy caught it all on camera and everything. It's available on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, that just means people aren't trying hard enough if only one's tipped over.
That's right. But no, the stackers are really popular. Again, we're trying to rebuild that class. The last time we ran a stacker race, which was a few weeks back, we had three stackers out, but one of them suffered major damage. So it ended up knocking him out of the feature race later on. But I believe we're going to have the stackers out tomorrow night.
Okay, so that's when the NASCAR weekend really starts, is tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, yes, absolutely.
Now, who was I was talking to someone. Oh, Brett Taylor's going to be running in one of the late models, I think. So former Pinty Series driver is coming up to do that. And then I guess was it Dexter Stacy and somebody else from our series is supposed to be running something tomorrow night. Do you know what the entry list looks like?
No, I don't, but I heard it might be Alex Gannett.
Okay.
That's who I heard tentatively, but I don't have an entry list yet. They're actually keeping that secret.
Oops.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we
want people to come out and see. Why do we want to keep that as a secret?
No, we just made it known that we were going to have some Pinty Series drivers and Xfinity drivers out at the race on tomorrow night, which is going to be shaping up to be really, really, really good. We got a full slate of racing action to entertain all the fans. Your ticket to the Bear 300, by the way, includes tomorrow night's race at Edmonton International Raceway. Gates open at 4:00. We drop the green flag just after 6, after Loretta sings "Oh Canada."
Okay, and that was going to be my question: is if one ticket gets you to both days. So one ticket gets you Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely, it's a great deal. I mean, $60 for they start at $60. Sorry, for general admission grandstand seating, but for 2 nights racing action, that's like over 6-7 hours. Plus, at the end of tomorrow night's race, we're inviting everybody to stay behind, and we're throwing a massive meet and greet barbecue kickoff party where at the end of the night, I'm going to get out of the race tower, go down, play some music, where we want all the drivers to stay behind and meet all the fans that are going to stay behind. So we're going to have a barbecue, drinks are going to be flying, music's going to be playing. We're just going to entertain the crowd.
That's awesome. If you can make sure that a handful of those Pinty's drivers end up with a bit of a hangover on Saturday, I would personally appreciate that, because that's such a tough track to race at. Any advantage we could get would would be greatly. I mean, I'll even buy, like, I'll make sure I give you a couple of bucks or a credit card so you can keep get DJ and a couple of those other guys. It's tough to get. I don't think I've ever seen DJ drink, but we'll maybe mix it in his Coke.
What about the young gun Trayton, who seems to be on a tear right now?
Never seen him drink either.
No, well.
Or you just want to talk about Trayton, or you want to talk about him drinking?
No, I want to talk about him drinking. I want to see Tag actually. He's 6th in the points right now. He's so close. I want to actually see him win a championship this year.
We've got to start now. We've got to start now, because we're pretty much halfway through the season, and this next 5-day period represents just about 20% of the calendar, because we've got 3 races here in 5 days.
Yeah, that's right. You go from here and then you do a double header in Saskatoon, that twin 125, right?
Correct.
And Tag won last year, the second race in that one,
which I wish I had the pictures loaded, but from when I've had Alex on my show, we didn't really talk about this too much on your show, although I pushed him in the direction, because I think the work that we did, like, we got taken out pretty bad.
Yes, you did.
In the race last year at Wetaskiwin.
Yep.
When we were looking at the car was hanging on the back of a forklift, or on a tow truck. And I leaned over to Scott, because I'm not a mechanical guy. I'm going to say this until the day I die. I don't know anything about cars, relative to my position in the world of racing. I don't want to know anything about cars. I'm not a mechanic. I'm more of a driver and a spotter type. But I leaned over to Scott and I said, "Hey, what do you think?" And he's like, I'm paraphrasing. His answer was 2 words, but basically what he said is, there's no chance that this car is going to be able to race next week. So we spent the Sunday, the Monday, most of the Monday, not knowing if we were actually going to be able to race on the Wednesday in Saskatoon, because Scott said, if we were back in Ontario, we could get this over to McCall's shop, put it on the jig. We could do all the things. He's like, we don't have that. But fortunately, Mike McCall was here, and he worked with the guys. So they spent most of Sunday, most of Monday, to where we got a phone call Monday and said, you know what? We think we've got this thing back pretty close to where we left. And it's like, wow. So we, in that first race in Saskatoon, we didn't qualify well. We raced a lot towards the back. There were a number of cautions that we actually came in. Normally in Saskatoon, because it's kind of halfway race, you don't pit. But because we were stuck at the back, Terry, our crew chief, kept calling Alex in, let's try this, let's try this. And we got the one magic adjustment that all of a sudden our car came to life. We ended up, I think we finished 8th in the first race, after starting at the back. And then all of a sudden, we were the guys to beat, and got that first win in Saskatoon. So I shouldn't have made this about me. This is really about you, but you pushed me down that road. But then we finished Saskatoon. It takes the crew gets back, like, best case scenario, they'll be back in Ontario on Saturday, where we have to then dump the oval cars and then get the road course car, which hasn't been touched since Toronto. We've got to get that ready to go, because we're doing GP3R the next weekend. So to put, 4 races together, 2 very different disciplines over 2 weeks is chaos.
Oh, I could just imagine the chaos you guys must go through and what Alex has to go through for preparing. I mean, go from an oval to a street course or a road course. Sorry, that's what GP or is it a street course?
Street.
It is a street course. So
Yep.
Pinty's runs 2 street courses.
Yeah.
What?
Toronto and GP3R, and then I don't know what we class ICAR as because it's an airport circuit. So kind of more in the venue of a road course, but airport style.
Okay.
And then the 2 races at CTMP. So
I see. And I made it a point to say we were doing it first up here with the Pinty series versus the Cup boys down in the States who used iRacing to do the simulation first. And then it out came Chicago. And I watched that Chicago race with the clouds and everything. The skyline of Chicago was just fantastic, but it doesn't match the Toronto. I mean, it's Toronto.
Yeah. There's not a lot of comparison. But this is the way that the things have to go, because cities can't spend $1 billion building a racetrack to turn left, but you can erect some barriers, you can put up some fencing relatively inexpensively, and showcase another city. So I think that's likely going to be what we see going forward. I mean, obviously in the Pinty series, we've long time ago started running left and right stuff. To the point that we get a lot of US drivers. If you're an up and coming driver and you have a shot of getting to Trucks, Xfinity, or Cup, you will spend some time in the Pinty series, because when it comes time to learn, we're as good as it gets as far as the caliber of our drivers and the quality of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We don't get a lot for Toronto. We'll get 1 or 2 for GP3R, and then ICAR. Not a lot of people seem interested in for some reason, but to get out to Canadian Tire and to be able to race along, Lacroix, Dumoulin, Gary Clute, DJ, Alex, pick anyone of any top 10, and I would put them up against most drivers in any other series, especially when it comes to road racing.
Oh, agreed. The talent base that we have up here is just phenomenal. I just wish there was more Canadian drivers that would get truck rides and Xfinity rides and work their way into the Cup series.
It's just how does it happen? Because when you're a Canadian driver, you largely exist on Canadian sponsors. And then all of a sudden, you don't, we've seen, Alex Labay, he made the jump from Pinty's to Xfinity. We have seen some Canadian drivers in the truck series, but you're running throughout the US with Canadian sponsorship. It doesn't make sense. And to get American sponsorship for a Canadian driver is equally hard. So trying to get those two things to jive is the stick, as they said in The Sopranos, the sticking post. But that's the sticking point is, how do you make that happen?
I don't know. I guess we have to ask a guy like Stuart Friesen, who seems to be doing very well down there in the truck series right now with Halmar. And I know I think he's got actually his hands in with Halmar too. So I'm not sure if it's kind of like a business partnership that he has, but he's definitely doing something right. Stewart's very competitive down there in the truck series. Raphael Lessard, he ran a few races on the truck side of it as well.
He ran a couple seasons. Yeah. He won Talladega.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he was in the Pinty series last year. And then year after
he was a fill-in driver for Donald Teague when Donald broke his hand, and now he's back running. I think it's APC in Quebec or whatever their local series is, and that shows you how deep the talent pool is and how quick it can go away when you run out of sponsor dollar. That all of a sudden he's back running regional racing in Quebec. He didn't forget how to drive.
Oh, definitely not.
But that's how the sport, that's how quick it goes.
It's money.
Speed costs money. How fast can you afford to go?
That's right. What's the saying goes? In order to make $1 million, you got to spend $3 million.
Yeah. My father-in-law said it that the best way to make a small fortune is to start with a large one and get into racing.
Well, I'm glad I just had a credit card to get involved with racing to
Yeah.
get me going. So,
Well, and that was going to be, one of my last questions is how did you get into racing?
well, I was a fanboy. I saw my first race at Cayuga Speedway when I was 8 years old. Then my current wife and I, we moved to Edmonton for medical reasons, and I found Edmonton International.
Like you were sick of Ontario?
Well, sort of. No, I contracted cancer, and
Oh, that's a delightful story. I'm glad I joked about that.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. Hey, I wear my scar with pride.
Yeah, that's awesome.
12 years clear, and Dr. David Williams at the U of A hospital, thumbs up, best surgeon out there. He gave me the second lease on life to allow me to get, to do what I like to do. But it was my wife that actually pushed me into it. When we were out at EIR for the very first time, I saw the sign that was in the back that said race school. So we went back home that night and I booked the race school, took the race school. And a couple of years later, I had the opportunity to buy that race car that actually took the race school in, that number 5 orange Monte Carlo. And so I had a blast driving that for the year until, well, the engine blew twice. And that car got sidelined, COVID hit. And so I ended up moving into the pure stocks. And I had more fun driving the pure stocks just because there were more cars out.
Yeah.
And the competition between the classes is relatively the same. It's just the car that changes. Just you're driving a different beast, but the competition's still the same. So I ran pure stocks, and then I had this neck compression. So my doctor he said, no, you can't race anymore. So I
would have found a new doctor.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I got to have neck fusion surgery in order to fix my issue. I just basically my reflexes get jerky, and I don't want to be a danger to my fellow competitors on the racetrack. So,
well, that makes you unique too, because most drivers don't care once that helmet's on. It's like, I'm coming through.
So I just ended up switching gears. I said to Lorette, it was strange how it happened during the off season. Loretta had a DJ lined up, but he didn't end up being there. So she asked if I'd fill in. I went out the first day, loved it. I've been DJ out there since. And then I did something stupid on Canada Day a couple of years ago. I grabbed the microphone and I started making announcements, welcoming everybody to EIR for Canada Day. And I guess they liked what they heard because I've been doing it ever since. And then the podcast came about. That's my podcast, Turning Laps with Mr. Smiley. Sorry, I had to plug my podcast.
That's part of what you're here for.
And everything else is just taken off exponentially. I'm getting to work on the business side of the racing industry. And if I would have known that 30 years ago, that there is a big, huge business side of racing, I would have made that my calling way back when I was in my 20s instead of now at 55.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I really wish I could go back to just being a race fan. But I'm way because there's a really dirty side to racing, and that there are a million stories of people who get taken advantage of, people who get bled financially, people who, there's no ethics, there's no moral. Like, yeah, when we race at home tracks, it's more of a family thing, but then all of a sudden someone cuts your legs out and you don't see it coming. I wish I could just go back to being like, because once you see it that way, you can't go back to just sitting in the grandstands and say, this is really fun, because you know too much about how the stuff goes. And I'm very thankful for what I do. I love being able to put my suit on, put my helmet on. We raced last night. I still feel like I got hit by a Mack truck today because it was really, really physical. But you're kind of in the opposite side of things. You wish you could have done more earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I, knowing what I know now, I would love to actually have my own track, and to run the track and be, the guy that has that final say,
I'm sure if you signed a check with enough zeros, Ron and Loretta would gladly give it over to you.
If I had the bank account to match that check, it would be great. But
again, the best way to make a small fortune is to start with a large one and get into racing.
That's right. That's right. But I've learned a lot from both Ron and Loretta on this side, and to go down, had the opportunity to go with Ron to Indianapolis in December for PRI. And that was something that I never would have expected in my life, to actually go and stand on the yard of bricks and kiss the bricks and everything. It was just phenomenal. I so enjoyed the energy of Indianapolis. And
It's a great city.
oh, it's great. It is. I'm looking forward to going back again this year. It's going to be not racetrack business, but it might very well be racetrack business again. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But I'm definitely going back again.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this weekend, obviously, there's tickets available, but tickets are in limited supply.
Oh yes, oh yes, it's selling out quickly. The VIP area in the sea cans have been sold out. I was informed
Great.
of. The start finish line reserve seating has been sold out as well. We have a few general admission tickets left, not many, I might add. But yeah, we still have the turn 4 grandstands that are still, we still have some seating left available. Those ones are $65 for the general admission to the turn 4 grandstands, which are personally my favorite seats in the house, are the turn 4 grandstands.
Yeah. So I just lost my train of thought. I hate when I do that. I have our schedule events, but I don't have the public schedule of events. So tomorrow night, you said things kind of get going about, did you say gates open at 4, but things kind of get going around 6?
Yeah, spectator gates open at 4. We're going to line up all the participants on the front stretch right after they do late model qualifying.
Okay.
So we do our own version of kind of like what we do on the Pinty's Day. We get all of our classes on the front stretch. Drivers give out their hero cards, everything else. That's become a tradition now. We like to do that every single race. We started it for fan appreciation. The fans loved it, so we're doing that. So yeah, spectator gates open at 4. Barbecues will be going. Hopefully we got some smokies on the go, so people can smell that smoke in the air. Yeah, get your beverages, come on down. Again, 6 o'clock, green flag drops. Saturday is going to be a really awesome day with starting bright and early in the morning at 8 o'clock with the Pinty's Hauler Parade.
Okay. And where do people catch that if they want to see it?
Yeah, it leaves the Royal Hotel approximately at 8 o'clock, and it's traveling south down Highway 2.
So Royal Hotel in Nisku. Okay.
Yeah, and that's it. Supposed to be there, leaving there around 8 o'clock. Then they're traveling south straight down Highway 2 to Highway 13 west. That's when they're going to exit, and then they're going to drive east to Auto Mile in Wetaskiwin. So they're going to make that right up to Auto Mile. They're going to drive.
Yeah, so that's on the south end of Wetaskiwin.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're going to drive from south to north on Auto Mile. And then on the north side of Wetaskiwin, they're going to hang that left at Township Road 464, straight down to the racetrack from there. They're tentatively scheduled to hit Wetaskiwin around 8:40, 8:45 in the morning. Then spectator gates open at 4 o'clock at the racetrack, or sorry, at noon at the racetrack that day.
Okay.
We're going to have a lot of interactive activities, rig hand distilleries.
Just people can still hear you, but for some reason your camera shut off. I don't know why that is.
That's quite okay.
I guess we'll keep going here. Sorry about that, folks, but we'll keep going. So
that's all right.
You got stuff from Rig Hand?
Yeah, Rig Hand Distillery. They're one of our preferred partners this year. They brewed Raceway beer for us exclusively at Edmonton International Raceway. They also have some other beverages for sale, but they've created a signature drink just for this weekend alone. So they're going to be featuring that out there.
Can you share what that is?
I have no idea what that is. Jamie hasn't told me, so I don't have a clue.
Okay.
So that's going to be a surprise for everybody out there. So but fans start rolling in at around noon, and then at well, you already know what your schedule of events are, but we're going to be having some home track racing also sometime that afternoon. We have it scheduled for, I believe, 5 o'clock, somewhere around there. We're going to have 3 classes. Going to run just a quick little feature race, little quick small 20, 30, and 35 feature or lap feature races, just to get everybody all warmed up for the big show of the Pinty's guys and girls.
And then, so for people who don't know or haven't been to the race before, you mentioned the autograph session.
Yes.
Now, I've been part of the autograph session. You know, I tend to be the person who hands out the cards, and I give Alex a little bit. I'm more like a groupie than anything practical. But you can meet it within the autograph session. Everyone gets the chance to meet every driver. So if you want to meet DJ Kennington, you can. If you want to meet Larry Jackson, Kevin Lacroix, LP Dumoulin, I don't know everybody who's coming out, but if there's some, or you want to meet them all, you can definitely get your way through, and you can get your picture. It's awesome.
Oh, it is. It is. The first time I went and saw the Pinty's race, I couldn't believe that was the experience. And I was just sitting there, just vibrating in my chair while I'm looking at my wife, and she's like, go on, go on. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, go, go. So I would just immediately hit that track. And the first person I went to was Alex.
Okay.
He was the first one. I'm like, my God, it's Alex Tagliani. Man, I saw you driving like Indy Lights. Like, that was like back in the day when he started out. So I was like, it was just to see him for the very first time in person. It was like a little bit of hero worship there.
Now, with you talked about your podcast, Turning Laps with Mr. Smiley.
Mm-hmm.
Where do people find that, first of all?
Podbean is the distributor. I also have a video version on YouTube. You could also get it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I kind of put it out there. iHeartRadio has it also.
Okay. Now let's take us out of the equation,
mm-hmm.
because Alex and I both appeared on your show.
Yes.
Let's take Erica out of the equation because that's a familial relation there.
Yep.
Who's been your best guest?
Best guest. Ironman Mike Sawyer. He was a really awesome interview. I had Mike Ram, the current champion in the late models.
Okay.
He was a good interview also. But Don Lawrence, the Don, he's been out at the Edmonton International Raceway for, I don't know, decades. And he actually had a really good interview. Just shed a lot of light on his career and how he got started and everything. So yeah, he's a real statesman, real good ambassador to the sport, just like you and Alex are.
Oh, that's very cool. One question I ask everyone: what is one misconception of what you do that you want to clear up?
And this is at the track level?
Is any misconception at all?
I can't tell you. I honestly can't. That's a very good question. Very good question. I don't know. I don't know. I really can't answer that one. You got me. You stumped me.
Like, as a race guy, you get free hot dogs. So you don't have to, I don't know. What do people think that the position you have really is versus, or, the position they think you have versus what it really is?
Well, I can tell everybody it's stressful. It's extremely stressful. I mean, chasing down sponsors and everything for the racetrack.
On the BDM side of things.
On the business side of it. Absolutely. But one misconception that people think is I'm a real nice guy. But you don't want to rub me the wrong way. You don't want to rub me the wrong way.
See, that's interesting because most people think I'm a bit of an asshole, but I'm actually a pretty nice guy.
No,
you're built opposite of what I'd expect. That's interesting.
No, I put out the nice demeanor and smile and everything, but I've had a few people step on my toes and they didn't like the outcome. That's for sure.
Well, there you go. And I got one just silly question because this is kind of a small world thing that I thought about afterwards. Tell me about this Krapinski kid.
Davin Krapinski.
Yep.
He's quite a little racer. That's for sure. He dominated the future stocks for a few years, moved up into the pure stocks. And he's been on a tear over at EIR lately, but we just,
I imagine he's a nice kid because I know his parents. So his mom was one of our in our bridal party when I was married. No longer married, but yeah, Cheryl and Brad have been good friends of ours for 30 years.
Yeah.
So his parents. So yeah, I saw the pictures you guys posted of featured driver, and I had to send it to my ex-wife Leanne. I'm like, just looking at the kid, he looks like his parents. I'm like, this has to be there. She's like, oh yeah, no, he's racing. I'm like, yeah, I might have to get out there and check that out one of these days.
Oh, he's really competitive when he's out there. He didn't make it out last weekend, so we're expecting him back this weekend, definitely for the show for the weekend. So hopefully you'll see that 16 car blasting around the racetrack for sure.
Well, it'd be good to see, to meet the kid, see Cheryl and Brad, and I imagine grandfather Wyatt comes out to support him too.
Wyatt was actually in the pits a couple of weeks ago, and for his birthday, and I actually announced it to all the fans in the stands, and they gave him a standing ovation for being there and helping Davin on his birthday.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, Wyatt's a fan favorite for sure.
Oh yeah, and just to touch upon something you just mentioned earlier, that at the home track level, it really is a family. It doesn't matter what class you run in. Mike Ram, he's always been there, the first person there to help anybody at the racetrack if they get into trouble. Mike Ram is right there. Poor guy suffered a burn to his face.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I think the second race in on the season, he ended up coming to the aid of one of the drivers, and as soon as he looked to see what the problem was, the upper rad hose let go and got him right in the face. So he ended up going to the with the paramedics there for a little bit, but he ended up being fine. No scars, no nothing. He just shook it right off.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm putting the one picture up here that I took a couple of years ago. We talk about the family connection. One of my things that I always look for when I get there is the Todd Knowles grandstand. Of course, Todd, great friend of ours. Merrill, obviously, great friend of ours. Both have passed away. But the Knowles family, very, very strong connection through not just racing. Both Tyler and Ryan have spent time working at Cantork, but they were also active cheerleaders with my ex-wife's cheerleading business. So from the time they were little kids, we've known those guys. So looking forward to getting to get a quick peek and a couple of subtle words with my friend Todd when I get out there on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they'll be out there. It's going to be a great crowd. We're anticipating a sellout, so it's going to be good.
Well, for anyone who's interested, where do people get tickets?
They could get tickets online at edmontonraceway.com. However, because the event is like right a couple of days away, tickets will be available at the will call booth, which will be right outside of the main gates. So anybody that orders your tickets from our website, edmontonraceway.com, they'll be available at the will call booth. You could also get them the day of, right there at the main gates as well. We take cash, debit, Interact e-money transfer through PayPal. So we just want people to come out and enjoy some really awesome racing, great entertainment. And that's what it is. It's entertainment.
I hope we're not too, I hope we're boring. I hope everybody else is entertaining on Saturday.
It's going to be a great race on Saturday, regardless.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving me some time tonight.
Absolutely. No problem, Colin. Thank you once again for having me. Pleasure was all mine to be here.
You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, my friend.
Oh, love this stuff. Love it, love it, love it. So absolutely, unquestionably, if you've never been out to the track, this is the time to do it. Such a great part of the year for me, with the Western Swing, where we get to race in front of our family, our friends. We bring a lot of corporate partners out. You will not get to a better venue to see racing than you will at Edmonton International Raceway. Again, there is no bad seat. Like, the worst seat you could have is the one that's not in the building. Everything else is spectacular views. There is always action. It's not like when you go to a street course where you get to see a small section. You get to see everything from the green flag till the end. Absolutely unquestionably, for you who like to see crashes, there will definitely be some bent up race cars. That has to happen. It's the nature of the tiny bull ring. And as Kevin mentioned, as he talks about walking the kids up the banking at turn 3 and turn 4, make no mistake about it. While it looks like a flat track from the grandstands, there is a substantial amount of banking, which, banking, for people who don't know, was not made for cars to go faster. When Bill France decided to build banking into Daytona International Raceway in 1959, the idea wasn't for the speed of the cars. It's that because he realized when two cars were going side by side in a corner, you couldn't see the outside car. And by building banking, it allowed you to see the cars going side by side. This is another benefit of the track. Tickets still available, edmontonraceway.com. Don't wait until Saturday. Get your tickets to make sure you can get in the door. You don't want to get out there and find out that you missed out. And if you do, make sure you come up and say hi. Everyone's approachable. Come up and see me. Tag any of our drivers. You'll have the time of your life. Great food, lots of laughs, and the weather is supposed to be fantastic. Saturday's kind of our last nice day before it starts getting really hot again. So perfect time to come out and watch some racing. But that's it for our show. We got to run and get to a sponsor event here tonight, but we will be back. Actually, I don't think I will be back next week because I have to travel down to Calgary for another race. So we'll see you in 2 weeks here on Talkin' Torque. Thank you very much.